I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about our avoidants bad people. Yes!
I know the comment section on this one is going to be really fun. I don't know what's going to be more entertaining, the video or the comment section.
Yeah, I don't know, probably both.
Probably.
You get a little mix.
Right.
Well, yeah, obviously I'm just kidding by just saying avoidants are bad people. But, you know, we talk a lot about attachment theory on the channel and attachment styles and how it's correlated with mental health, because that's really what it's all about. Is, you know, our mental health is, and our coping is what leads our attachment styles to occur, and the difficulties that we have and the challenges we have later on in our romantic relationships. They're very correlated with what happened when we're small. But, you know, a lot of times you find yourself dating an avoidant and you feel like they're not as thoughtful, not as sensitive, not as caring, maybe more dismissive of your feelings or neglectful of their romantic partners. And people can become very judgmental about that because those behaviors can hurt people. And so we're going to talk about that. Like, you know, what does that mean to be a bad person, right? Are avoidants bad people?
Well, let's talk about morality a little bit. You know, this is maybe more of those, more of like a debate style type of video, because your definition of good or bad can be very different than mine, could be very different than Craig's, right? So morality is something that's debated heavily just in general, okay? So your definition can be different than ours.
Sure.
Just keep that in mind. We do want to say that someone's attachment style does not necessarily determine their overall moral compass or their overall ethics, right? And we have examples of this. There's people who are more avoidantly attached and they can treat their friends very well. There's people who are more anxiously attached, and sometimes, you know, they might be super giving and loving and anxious and wanting that affection, but then also be very selfish in some ways.
That's true.
And so what we deem is good or bad.
And I talk a lot about that even when I started the channel, about how anxiety causes people to become selfish and self-absorbed because you're so overwhelmed by your own feelings. So yes, anxious people can be very selfish, and it's because they get caught up in their own emotions and they can't soothe themselves.
Right. And even secure people make mistakes too. You know, secure
From
people,
time to time.
From time to time. You know, they're a little bit more emotionally in tune, which can help.
Yeah.
You know, but they also can make decisions that someone might see as not moral or not ethical. So, you know, there's examples of this all over. And you can see avoidant people who are humanitarians, who are philanthropists, who volunteer their time, who do a lot of very respectable things. And so, you know, it's all within context.
So you can even have somebody who is widely regarded as a good person, but they can still do something quote unquote bad, something that might hurt somebody else or disappoint somebody else. So good people can do bad things, and people that are generally more selfish or are bad, quote unquote bad, can do kind and generous things. And sometimes you hear about that with celebrities, that a lot of people are like, oh, I hate so-and-so, I hate them because of this, this, and that. And then you look a little bit deeper and it's like, well, they do these positive things too. They, you know, it's not just, yes, they've done some things that were negative, but they also do positive things too.
Right. And the reason why we're bringing up this entire topic is because many of us can fall into this black or white thinking when it comes to attachment styles and others. You know, I'll never date an avoidant again. They're bad people. They're
That's
selfish.
true.
They're all narcissists, you know? And so we can get into this extreme thinking and not put it into a context where it does make sense. Doesn't mean that some of the things that they do are okay. which we'll get into. But bringing up the topic, I think, is helpful. What also stirred this was a satirical Instagram reel that I saw. And the title was something like, "When someone loves you more than you love them." And then the person, in a joking manner, I hope, begins to list...
They are avoidant.
It was questionable. But then they begin to list, different things that happen to them in a relationship where they're loved more.
Yeah.
Such as rolling their eyes at a text, waiting to see how long it will take before the other person will say something with how they've been ignored. It can be feeling like you're a terrible person all the time. And looking at that comment section, people were saying, well, you are a terrible person.
Yeah.
And when I initially watched that video, I thought, man, this is probably something that someone with a more avoidant attachment style could relate to some of the time. Sometimes we have reactions based out of our attachment styles that might not necessarily reflect what we want or how we feel. Just like how avoidance can want connection, avoidance can want marriage. But when met with that commitment, when met with that intimacy, they can have a bodily reaction, a reaction coming from their attachment system that is not reflective of who they truly are.
And, one thing that I have seen with avoidance over the years is a lot of times they break up with somebody because they feel guilty. Okay? A lot of times they know they can't give the other person what they want or what they need, that they don't feel ready for it, or it's just overwhelming to them for whatever reason it is. And so they, in an act of kindness from their perspective, are trying to do something thoughtful because they don't want to hurt someone else. And so they end the relationship because they're like, well, I've done my best to give you what you need, but it's not enough. You're never happy. You want more.
You deserve better.
You deserve better. They say that all the time, and they really mean that. Like, that's not BS. They will give some BS, but that's not one of those things. They really mean that, right?
Yeah.
And they feel guilty because they know they're disappointing you, and they want you to be happy. And the anxious people really struggle to understand that, because if you wanted me to be happy, why wouldn't you just be with me?
Right.
That would make me happy.
Right. Exactly. And it's hard because this feeling of guilt, it can be really overwhelming, and it can show up into the relationship, like feeling less enthusiastic about certain things, or having this sense of obligation to your partner because they're showing you so much affection. You in your mind might think, well, I won't be able to love them the way that they love me. And a lot of avoidance, they'll say, I have this feeling that others love me more than I love them. That's a common statement that I hear from avoidance. And so I think this funny Instagram reel points to a deeper issue and something that we see in relationships in society.
Yeah, it did. And she showed me the reel. It was funny.
It was funny.
But, you also have to remember that people don't become avoidant when they had a good childhood. That's non-debatable. You don't become avoidant if life was good. If life is good, you become secure. You become avoidant because your parents had mental health issues. Your parents were alcoholics. They couldn't keep a job. They were abusive. You were neglected. You were sent off to live with your grandmother for 3 years because your parents, were trying to work all the time, and your grandmother was neglectful and she forgot about you and couldn't take care of you the way you needed. You wind up as an avoidant because things weren't good. And so because you don't know what healthy love looks like and feels like, it's very hard to accept it, and it's very hard to give it back, because they've never had it.
Right. And, if you look at this from the standpoint of, this is a person who may not have learned those types of relationship skills, it changes it, because it goes from viewing someone as malicious, as someone who wants to hurt you, as someone who's sitting there smiling at their phone, while you're left on red, while you're over there suffering, crying, just waiting for a response.
Yeah, really.
We sometimes in our pain, we paint others as these evil characters when they may not be, when they may just not have the skill or the wherewithal with how to deal with another person.
I mean, if you think about it, does it really make somebody a bad person? Think about this for a minute. Does it really make somebody a bad person because they want to see you less or spend less time with you than you do with them? Now think about that for a minute, okay? So what if you date somebody who wants to spend more time with you than you want to spend with them. That would make you a bad person too then, right? If that's the logic you have. So you got to consider that just because somebody may be more avoidant than you, does that make them a bad person? Well, if you were dating somebody who's more anxious than you and they want more time with you than you want to give them, then you're basically doing to them what the more avoidant person is doing to you. So you got to think about that and consider it when you're being judgmental.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Now, there are cases where avoidants can be neglectful, where they can be blunt. Sometimes they're mean.
Yes.
Sometimes they're not transparent about needing that space, and it causes a lot of confusion. Or they'll say, yes, I want to spend time with you, canceling and, getting your hopes up or leading you on. And so I want to be clear that these types of behaviors, we're not saying that they're okay or they're excusable. No, if both are consenting adults, you also have responsibilities for how you treat someone. Mistreatment isn't okay. And the point of this video is more to not look at attachment styles as good or bad. Sometimes it can be framed as like avoidants are bad and anxious people are just really loving and secure people are the best and they're just good. Instead of having this type of view, yes, there are insecure attachment styles and more secure ones. But think about it as if we're all people in nature. Think about it kind of like you're looking at a flower. Some flowers, they don't receive enough sunlight. Some flowers, maybe they're planted in the wrong soil and they don't get the right amount of nutrients. It doesn't make them a bad flower.
You're a bad flower. You're a bad flower.
And likewise, if there is this beautiful blooming flower that had all the sunlight that it's needed, it had all the nutrients, it's a flower that's been sitting out on Craig's garden. He has a nice garden, but that doesn't.
You can see him in the shorts.
Yeah, it doesn't automatically make that a good flower. It just is. In nature, we're affected by things, and that's the results we have. The turnout, the outcome of our experiences. So it's just a different way of viewing it. And in more of the psychological, clinical setting, people have two major fields of thought. There's more of the medical model, which says, okay, you're diseased, you have a disorder, you have like an illness. Or there's a way of looking at holistically. How did these things come about? What elements might have contributed to the symptoms that you're having? What looks functional if we were to work on certain symptoms and not? And in more of the clinical field, there's two different categories of approaches. There's more of the medical model that pathologizes people and says, okay, you have a disorder, you have a disease or an illness, and we have to cure it. And that illness or disorder is all bad. We have to eradicate your body of it. And then there's the more holistic approach that says, okay, what factors have contributed to these things happening? Let's take a look at environment. Let's take a look at other factors that might be involved. Yep. And let's take a look at the bigger picture. And so what we're trying to do here is just help you reframe. It's not bad or good, but how does it affect you? Maybe there's certain avoidant traits that you can work around. Maybe there's others that you absolutely will not tolerate, you see as mistreatment, you see as immoral. So these are all things that you have to decide for yourself when dating, but try not to categorize all avoidance into all bad or all, anxious people as these loving people. And people are complex. Yes.
And, anxious people can be very selfish too. And I talked about that long ago in my video, The Real Reason Relationships Fail, what anxiety does to us. And avoidants are very anxious people too, because the less love and affection you got in your childhood, the more you're gonna have to find ways to cope. I mean, a lot of these people that are avoidant or have personality disorders had extreme amounts of neglect and abuse. And they weren't loved, they weren't given proper love and care, they don't know what it looks like, they had to learn to survive on their own. Sometimes they're just reenacting the abuse that's happened to them because they haven't processed it or dealt with it. So understand that people get to be who they are based on things that happen to them. Okay, so, you can look at it as bad or good if you want to, but we like to look at deeper and try and understand things deeper and focus on the things that we can control, which is healing and growing and the personal growth, so we can all be a better version of ourselves for our relationships and our relationship with ourselves. So
Very well said.
I know a lot of you are going to just write, they're bad people.
Yeah.
Or-
I mean, feel free to share your experiences
Yeah.
too and your thoughts. Like I had said, this is more of a debate style video. You know, let's hear it. What were you going to say?
All right. Well, I can't wait to read the comments. Hopefully this one's been helpful to you. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth,
And I'm Coach Victoria.
and we will talk with you soon.